Hey guys, welcome to Penrail. Today we're going to be working on the Roosevelt Boulevard Subway in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This, of course, is going to be operated by SEPTA under their SEPTA Metro system. The Roosevelt Boulevard Subway has been proposed four times now throughout Philadelphia's history, starting in 1913 with the original Merritt Taylor plan to build out a subway throughout the city of Philadelphia that would rival that of Chicago's. It had branches of the what is now the Broad Street line going out into the northeast, the northwest, further north than Fern Rock, where it terminates today. Um, Unfortunately, all we got was the Broad Street line and the Broadwich Spur. Um, but with the Roosevelt Boulevard subway having uh, gotten so much steam over the past couple years, it only felt right to build it out. Now, that was the first time it was proposed in 1913. The second time it was proposed was in the 1920s, where it was almost immediately killed by the Great Depression. The Broad Street line had just been finished, like right under the gun, right before the market crash in 1929. So SEPTA was in, or sorry, the Philadelphia Transit Corporation was nowhere to be. It was in no place to be, you know, building out their system. They stuck with what they had because the Great Depression was a terrible, terrible event, unimaginably damaging to the economy, and it simply was not feasible to build more subway lines. The next proposal was in the 1960s, I believe in 1960 exactly. Uh, this was the closest Philadelphia ever got to getting a Roosevelt Boulevard subway. Um, this proposal got as far as building Adams Avenue Station, which is the one being built on screen right now. There, they managed to complete the station along with a couple sections of track and parts of other stations, but Adams Avenue was the only one that was ever finished, and it is currently buried under a couple of buildings and is most likely completely unusable if it hasn't collapsed in on itself already. Now, the final proposal officially was in 2002 to 2003, or sorry, 1999 to 2003, when PennDOT studied the Roosevelt Boulevard corridor for for heavy rail, where the studies showed that if a heavy rail were to be built on the Roosevelt Boulevard between Hunting Park on the current Broad Street line and I believe South Haven, then it would get 124,500 riders every day. Currently, SEPTA's metro system gets about 45 million passengers a year, or just around there. And if the Roosevelt Boulevard subway was built, that number would nearly double to almost 90 million ride passengers per year, which is an immense, immense gain. It's not really easily explained how important building the Roosevelt Boulevard subway is for the city of Philadelphia and for SEPTA. Unfortunately, the 2002 plan was eventually cut off because while they were studying it and planning for the construction of it, the 2008 recession hit, which completely killed the plan, and it was forgotten about once again. Now, in recent years, there have there has been a new movement to that pushing for the Roosevelt Boulevard subway to be built, partially due to how dangerous the Roosevelt Boulevard is in Northeast Philly, because many pedestrians and cyclists and motorists are killed every year on the boulevard, far more very out of proportion compared to other streets in the city. And this is mostly due to it having too many lanes. The road is too wide, and it has a ton of slip lanes in the middle. Now, if it were to be, it's impossible to cross the street also. It's really very dangerous, and people feel unsafe doing it. Since 2022, there's been an active movement and mostly led by Jay Arzu, who has really gotten the ball rolling for either PennDOT or SEPTA to study building the Roosevelt Boulevard Subway again. It's considering it's been over 20 years since the last study was done on the Roosevelt Boulevard Subway. One could expect the amount of ridership, the amount of estimated ridership to have grown substantially as the city and as the Northeast have grown, and due to the fact that the current proposal goes beyond South Haven out to the Neshaminy Mall, which is a big consumer destination and would bring a lot of ridership going anti-commute, a reverse commute direction compared to what most people would be doing. So it would provide riders going outbound as well as inbound at all times, which is, of course, very useful for ridership and for revenue. And the main reason SEPTA hasn't built it already is because of budgetary and monetary constraints. Because SEPTA is an incredibly poor transit agency. Pennsylvania essentially owns SEPTA. SEPTA is a state agency, so the state has to fund it. And unfortunately, the state rarely ever funds it. Just this year, there was a huge countdown to SEPTA losing all of its money because the federal government COVID, boosters would have run out. Luckily, the system got funding, and all is well for the next couple of years or so. But it's still a very important issue that SEPTA and the state need to get figured out if transit is to continue to be a viable option in Philadelphia. Now, the Roosevelt Boulevard Subway is an incredible corridor for building heavy rail because the street was built with the intention of having heavy rail. It's an 80-foot wide median in many places, which is meant for a double-tracked heavy rail corridor, which means, and the city owns that land, which means it would be very easy to put heavy rail in. You don't have to do eminent domain. You don't have to tunnel very far underground, and it would just be a very good and relatively easy and inexpensive project to do. That is going to do it for this episode. Of course, like and subscribe for more videos in the future if you want, and I'll see you later.